but cute. And you never seen, so they tell me, such downright domesticity, with a Roman baby on each knee named Claudius and Brute. Oh, yes, them women was sobbing, 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 passing them nights.
All right, everyone. Welcome to Brandon at Random Reviews. I am your host, Brandon Griffiths. Thank you for stopping by. I do appreciate it. If you like this show, if you like a guy talking about one arbitrarily chosen movie after another, week after week, then look no further. I am on all of the major video and audio platforms, and I just hope you like and follow and check me out. Today on the show, we are going to be talking about a little movie called Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and I couldn't possibly do this without my sister Michelle present, because this is a movie that is very ingrained in our childhood. Our mother introduced us to it, and it would just randomly play in our house all the time. Like, it was just not as much as some movies, but I don't know. I mean, where do you think it ranks? I mean, I think like Dirty Dancing is above it, I think.
It was high up there. I remember we used to rent it a lot from the video store.
Oh yeah.
Like the one, obviously most people don't know this, from our hometown, that was video time behind the Felposh grocery store when it moved into the separate one, not when it was still in the store itself, but I remember renting this a lot from there.
Oh yeah. And
before we got our own copy.
That video time, I estimated had like 50 movies when it was in the actual store. Like, it just seemed so small.
Oh yeah, tiny.
Yeah.
Like, what's behind me is more than what that...
Oh, easily, for sure. Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's CDs, but even so.
Right.
And they took up a lot more space. But that was about the amount of space that had.
Right. So, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers was released on August 6th, 1954. It's based on the story The Sobbin' Women. I don't know if you would say this movie is based wholly on that story, or it just has elements of that story. It's an Argosy, I don't know what the fuck that is, by Stephen Vincent Benet, and it was directed by Stanley Donen, with writers Albert Hackett, Francis Goodrich, and Dorothy Kingsley. And for the producer, we have Jack Cummings. There's actually a longer list of people that I figured was reasonable to credit for this movie's music. So lyrics, Jean DePaul, Johnny Mercer, musical direction, Adolf Deutsch, and musical supervisor, Saul Chaplin. And so this movie is, spoiler alert, a fucking musical, like full-on musical. And
Dan didn't know that.
Oh, you had him
watched it
started
last
out
night.
without him knowing that? Wow.
Yep.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah.
So for the cast, just a few names here. Howard Keel and Jane Powell are the leads in this movie, and Jeff Richards and Julie Newmar, who played Catwoman in the 1960s Adam West Batman series, are all in the mix, and there are a bunch of people that are notable names. What were you telling me before we started, Michelle, about the...
Oh, well, two things, right? One, I was shocked you didn't know that Julie Newmar was in this movie and played Catwoman. I had to tell you that, which I thought was really weird.
I don't know why that is either. Like, I assume...
Because Mom used to talk about that all the time.
Right, but I think that's the issue. Is it was, she probably talked about it a lot when we first started watching it, and it was basically like diarrhea of the mouth for me to like listen to somebody talk about this movie. But I mean, that's my explanation.
Yeah, and then Russ Tamblyn, who plays Gideon, one of the seven brothers, he is the father of Amber Tamblyn, who was in Joan of Arcadia and a couple of other things in the early 2000s, has done other things since then, and is now married to David Cross. So I thought, I saw his name as Tamblyn. I was like, oh, I bet that's her grandfather. Nope, it's her father, and now he manages her career.
Oh, wow, and he's still kicking then. That's the assumption.
Yep, he is the, I think, last remaining cast member that's still alive of the like original, or the seven brothers at least. I don't know, we looked this up last night.
He's got to be at least in his 80s, right?
Yes, so he was born in 1934.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, late 80s, like, holy shit. Okay. For the plot synopsis, in 1850 Oregon, a rough mountain man marries a random woman he meets in town only for her to find out that he has 6 brothers at home and their way of life is very uncivilized. I mean, the very title of this movie is like a huge fucking spoiler. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I mean, it's not like you have any doubt, but it's at the same time, like, why would you just do something like that with the title? I guess if you're ready, we can just dive right into the plot of this fucking movie. So, all right. I gotta say that Adam Pontepe's approach to pursuing a romantic partner is admirable and remarkably direct and successful, I might add. There's absolutely no flaw in what he's doing. He just comes to town from 12 miles away and no one knows who he is, and he just sets his sights on, well, after, of course, like, looking at different women and letting them know.
Ogling different women.
Ogling, okay. He's ogling different women, and he's letting them know that it's like, hey, you're on my radar, but also, like, I'm not gonna try and, like, commit to you just yet. I want to see what's out there. So, and that's right, super romantic.
You might be a little too thin, or have beautiful eyes, but be a little too hefty, as he sings about, which Mom used to sing this song all the damn time.
Yeah,
so
yeah, this one, I mean, it's
in her deep voice, you know. Like,
yeah, she would always do
singing
her
voice. So
she would always do the deep voice to sing a couple of songs, and she was always pretty impressed with herself when she would do it. So, as Michelle was talking about, this song that he opens with, it's actually, I mean, it's a solid song in my opinion, especially in the realm of this movie, because I'm not saying like all the songs are terrible, and I'm not saying there are any other good songs, but this one is a pretty good one to open up the movie on. I think it's pretty well written and all that stuff. And also, so I was going to mention, his teeth might be a little unrealistic. Like, I don't picture this guy, given his background, having like what look like fucking veneers or some shit. Like, he has like these beautiful white teeth, or at least from my vision, I thought he looked like he had really nice teeth. But he sets his sights on Millie, and he's mostly interested in a lady who can do it all, and he wants her to, and he doesn't market it this way, of course, because, you know, he's an innovator, and he wants somebody that can basically pick up after him and his brothers, but he's not at all forthcoming about that intention at all. Like, he doesn't let her know. Like, it seems like he tries to tell her maybe once or twice, but he doesn't actually make that full effort to be like, hey, hold on, there's shit you need to know about before you just like marry me, you know, like before you move into my house and you haven't even met anybody else in my life.
Which also, like, later in the movie, you find out that the town knows of the Ponape brothers.
Right.
So nobody has talked about them, so she would know that there are 7 of them.
Right.
Or that they all live in the same place. Or, like, when she goes and they get married, did they just assume Adam's told her, or she knows, and so they don't say anything?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess that wouldn't...
It's odd. I mean, it's like, maybe they just have a reputation, but they have to know the brother thing. Like, they have to know that much. So yeah, to your point, it's like, why does nobody seem to be saying this? And like, all of these people are seemingly very opposed to losing Millie, even though nobody else wanted to lock her down. You know, nobody's...
Well, they wanted to lock her down, but she said she didn't have a good feeling about it.
Oh.
But she did have a good feeling about Adam.
Which is, I mean, so to that point, she just... Ultimately, she's reluctant, but she just dives headfirst into the worst decision of her life and just...
Well, yeah, and basically he sees her chopping wood and serving food and taking care of all these men, and so he's like, she can handle it.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is it's like, You do. I mean, you see her doing all this stuff, and you know that he's like, oh shit, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, I need this chick in my life. It's questionable. I think it's safe to say nobody could watch this movie in modern times and not see all of this stuff play out and not have a reaction to it, not have like this is fucked up, like this doesn't make any fucking sense. But it is the premise of this entire movie. So they get hitched and they head out to Adam's place, and he says that it's 12 miles away, which historians estimate would have felt like a 6 to 8 month trip without iPads or anything. Just, I don't know what the fuck you do on a 12-mile wagon ride.
You have to stop and sing a song, which is one of the times where you see she's picking something to make soup with, and you can tell that he's about to come and say something to her about, oh, you probably need to pick more because I have 6 brothers, but then she bursts into song. And one of the notes I had was that I don't know the words to the song because Mom always fast forwarded through it.
So I got clarification.
Understandably so.
She fast forwarded through all of Jane, whatever, Millie's,
Powell.
Yeah, Jane Powell's
Yep.
songs. She hated her when she was singing alone because she said she was awful. So just to clarify that.
She thinks that about a lot of...
Oh, yeah.
But that song, I don't care for. The one she sings later by herself, it's fine.
But I will say that song in particular, that first song she sings is like when he goes to start talking about his brothers to her and she starts singing, it is like such a jarring transition for like to go from her calm singing voice.
Even for a musical.
Right. It's like, yeah, you expect that. You expect it to be weird in a musical because people don't do this in real life. But it's like she has this really calm, fairly laid back speaking voice. And then it's like just like she's fucking belting it out like from the get go. It's not like it just like gradually progresses into a louder song. It's like right out of the gate, she is fucking just going all out on this fucking song.
People I work with are always very shocked by the strength and loudness of my voice. And so I said, I think the problem was doing theater in high school. Somebody once told me the person in the back row of the balcony needs to be able to hear you. We didn't have microphones, like some of that sort of stuff.
Right.
I took that very to heart, and now my voice carries just a bit.
I mean, well, you know, there are worse things. I mean, at least you're not one of these people that is just like chronically loud, like on a level of like, if I'm having a conversation with you, I don't have to be like, good God, and turn my phone volume down or whatever. It's just, that's awful. And so she gets done singing the song and they make the rest of the way to the house. Of course, the shit really hits the fan, and Millie finds out that Adam has these 6 scrub-ass redheaded brothers, and they all live with him, and they...
Yeah, well, she asks, you all live around here.
Right.
He said, not round here.
Right. And like, they're fucking filthy. They fight constantly. They don't have any manners whatsoever.
The house is disgusting.
Yeah, the house is just not picked up at all. It's like just...
They've got animals, like barn animals, just like hanging out in the house.
Which is, that is insane. So... Basically, so Mom had stopped by while I was watching this because she was at her rental house down the street. So she texted me to ask if I was home, and she stopped by and she walked in and saw me watching this movie. And she said, I don't think that oldest brother is really a redhead. And I was like, the oldest brother? Do you mean Adam Pontype, the main fucking character of this story? Who the fuck are you? Like, I don't even know who you don't know who he is. Like, shit. Like, I don't even like.
Although I will give her the benefit of the doubt now that we used to harass the hell out of her for not remembering things. And now that I'm getting older, I don't remember. Like, well, this is the thing though. I remember shit from 20 years ago. Like, it's the back of my hand.
Right.
But like anything from the last week or last couple of months, can't tell you.
Right there with you.
So at least there's that. But at the same time, we did watch this movie like every freaking week for several years.
Yeah.
But maybe she hasn't watched it since then.
But
and
she
we have,
but she owns it on DVD.
Nostalgia.
Like, Emily was with her
Yeah.
wife, and Emily hadn't seen it, and I said, oh, you gotta fucking just watch this movie, just, even if you're, like, just to be shocked and, like, to make fun of how ridiculous it is, like,
Right.
you've gotta see it.
Yes.
And
yes, Emily would have
she'd be mortified.
had all of the Ponape brothers in jail.
Oh God, yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, so she mentioned that she's like, oh, I'll have to check it out sometime. We'll have to, rent it or see if it's on streaming. And Mom was like, well, I have the DVD of it. It's down in the camper. It was like less than a quarter mile away. And so it's like, I know at least it's not like she hasn't seen it in a very long time. It could have been a while.
Yeah, she knew she had it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So
yeah,
the brothers are all farmers, and they immediately notice that, hey, it almost kind of seems like Millie isn't super happy after finding out that we live out here, and that she's basically going to be picking up after us and cooking for us and just, doing all that stuff. Millie and Adam argue about how she only knows, like how he only didn't tell her because he assumed that she wouldn't want to marry him if she knew, which is like, oh, that's nice, Adam.
Yep.
So
what do you know?
Right. And so it's just like Adam is initially forced to sleep outside in a tree, and this is like the most short-lived idle threat of all time. It's just like, it is, he doesn't even make it 15 minutes. Like, she's like so pissed at him. She's like, you're not sleeping in my bed with me. I am gonna have the bedroom. And he elects to sleep outside the bedroom window in a tree. And after like a 2-minute conversation, she's like, oh, well, I guess, I'll just let you come on in.
Well, she sings a song to him about when you're in love, blah, 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 blah.
Right. And who's in love in this situation? Who's like, who are we talking about here?
Couldn't tell you.
So
Nope.
The next morning, Millie surprises the brothers by cleaning all of their clothes and telling them that she wants to withhold breakfast.
One of my favorites.
If they don't let her, or if they won't let her clean their underwear that they are wearing. It's like the last piece of clothing they have that isn't being washed, and they reluctantly go along with it. And I'm going to make a bold assertion here. I feel like with multiple other times in this movie, maybe these 6 backwoods country boys probably wouldn't give a shit if Millie like wanted this or wanted that. Like they would probably not put up with it. But I know it's a fucking movie, but I just got to be that guy that says that out loud.
Oh, what do you mean? Like they would have said, hell no, you're not getting our long underwear.
Right. And they would have
not given it.
Right. But at the same time,
but she entices them with the smell of her cooking, and they
yes,
probably haven't had a good meal since their mother died however many years ago.
Right. That's fair. And so Millie and the brothers, with the exception of Adam, decide they're all going to make a trip to town because, yeah, I'm sure that's a trip you want to make like multiple days in a row.
Yes. And also they all had nothing to do.
No. I mean, what are they? Yeah. I mean, work. Like, I mean, they'll catch up on that farming later, So they're all fascinated, the brothers are, with the women that they spot in town, but their attempts to woo them causes a fight to break out, and Millie has to just shut it the fuck down. But this is after somebody gets thrown through a store window, and she's not pleased with them. But it's like she has literally no reason to believe that they wouldn't behave this way at all. Like why wouldn't they get into a fight?
I think, but also, like, I think she gives them the benefit of the doubt for some reason. I don't know why she does. She should expect the worst of them. And this is actually not as bad as it could have been. But I mean, now they need to go like kill a bunch of animals for their pelts and fell some trees and stuff to pay for that window because they don't have window money.
Right. Yeah, they don't have money. Like they have to do something. Clearly this movie just glosses right over that shop window. They don't really care, and it never gets brought up again, which I think it should have been a major focal point of this movie. Back at the house, Adam is very cynical, skeptical, whatever you want to say, as Millie is just dead set on turning these guys into gentlemen. They're trying to unlearn all of these things that they've been living for their entire life.
However long.
So she puts them all in their totally not gay, color-coordinated shirts, and
Well, wait. No, that doesn't happen yet. They've got to do the Go and Courtin' song first before she does that.
Yeah.
Which is an epic, amazing song where she is teaching them how to dance and teaching them through song how to be human in the way that they're talking to women.
And it works. Through the course of a 2.5 minute song, they are completely where they need to be.
Then, like, right after that, they're all in their matchy color shirts, and it's a month later, which she says that very quickly, like, oh, you know, we've got a month until the barn raising and picnic, and then flash forward a month, and then they're wearing their new shirts, and they're all, you know, whatever. So there has been a month of teaching, but you don't see that. There was no montage of them learning. It was just the one song.
It's iffy, but I'll let it slide. These dudes, they're all transformed at this point. Like, they're not just polite. They are, like, legit softies. A musical number about picking up chicks is, Going Cotin', which, what the fuck? It's supposed to be Courtin', but it's Cotin' in the song title, I thought. Like, have you ever seen the song title? Like, is it...
Yes.
Is it one of those, like, over-apostrophized words where...
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay. They're all just like, they're letting people walk all over them. They're doing well with the women, but the guys at this barn raising are fucking just giving them all sorts of shit, and they're just like not responding to it or
they're taking
apologizing for themselves. And I gotta say, to that point, sometimes, guys, physical violence is the only answer, okay? I know that this isn't...
Well, wait. This is another thing that Mom always bitched about, because they start dancing before the barn is raised, and she's like, that never would have happened. They don't celebrate till after the barn is raised, which I gotta admit is probably true, right? Like, you don't come to a barn raising and have dancing and stuff before you've done any of the work. They're also, like, all dressed up as though they're not going to barn raising, like they would be in work clothes and all that sort of stuff. So there's the huge dance number with the 6 women, the 6 brothers, not including Adam and Millie, and then the 6 guys from town that are trying to court the girls too. So it's a back and forth in dance with them,
right?
And that starts, which has to happen ahead of time so you can see the tension between the Ponape brothers and the men from town. Oh, have we talked about the Ponape brothers' names? Adam, Benjamin, Caleb, Daniel, Ephraim, Frank, and Gideon?
We have not talked about their names, and
we should probably talk about that, because that's going to come into play very quickly.
All of these brothers' names, they go A through G alphabetically, you know, the first initial, and the only one of them that isn't, I guess, from the Bible is Frank, and this is a very big point of contention for Frank, but his real name is actually Frankincense, because his mother said he smelled so sweet.
Because there were no F names in the Bible.
There are no F names in the Bible.
That frankincense was in the Bible.
Right, and so he... It's like, of course, his brothers know that he fucking hates that, and they, like, even just start talking about it earlier on in the movie. He is, like, fucking just throwing down with these guys. It's like, how fucking dare
that's
you?
where the fight starts as Millie walks into the house, is because somebody says, well, that's not his real name, and somebody else explains, and they're all fighting by the time it gets done. So this is important, because when they do start raising the barn, they break into 4 teams, and the Ponape brothers are one team, and then the other 3 teams are like combination of the other townsfolk and stuff like that. Well, the other townsfolk guys keep like doing stuff to the Ponape brothers, like hitting their hand with a hammer, or hitting their toe with a hammer,
or hitting their head with a
dropping
board.
Wood on them. One of them goes after Adam, who is an innocent bystander, because he's not going after any of the girls, and Gideon gets really pissed and attacks that guy. Somebody hits Frank in the belly with a board, and they said something about frankincense, and he gets incensed. But I'm also like, so these guys are not known to the town, but this other guy knows his name is frankincense.
Like,
yeah.
Craziness.
So,
which, by the way, I don't know any of these brothers other than Adam and Gideon. You just went through them, and I probably could have said the names. I couldn't match a name to a person very well other than the oldest and youngest.
Okay, so the only ones that I can't remember ever are Caleb and Daniel because they look so similar.
Yeah.
And so Benjamin's my favorite. He's the best looking. He can't really dance. The rest of them are dancers.
Well, and Benjamin is the guy that plays him is a former minor league baseball player. Like, he had no training and shit. So yeah, it's pretty noticeable. But
and then the girls are Millie's married to Adam, who we've already discussed. Dorcas is
worst
Benjamin's
fucking name ever. Like, honestly,
worst name ever.
Oh God.
The other ones, I don't know who belongs with who.
No.
I can never remember.
No, the girls are much more difficult.
It's Martha, Sarah, Ruth, Liza, and Alice. Alice is with Gideon. I do know that.
Yes.
So anyway, back to our barn raising. They get in the fight, and somehow, even though they're like pretty far along in this barn building, because of their fighting, all the walls fall back down.
Right.
And you see Millie crying in the side because she had told them not to fight and all of that sort of stuff.
I, for one, was shocked by their behavior. I just couldn't believe that they would start resorting to that. You know, it's just unbelievable. But
don't you, when you're in a fight with someone, get up on a well-roped twister and dance on it? Isn't that usually how you would fight someone?
I'm sorry, is there some other way to fight? What else do you do? I mean, that's the only thing out there. Right. So they get done with this barn raising thing, and it is, a big catastrophe, and, everybody's just kind of reeling from the whole experience. And so they get back home, and all the guys are pining over their respective girls, and Adam's talking to Gideon, and it's that thing in a musical where you just know a song is coming because it's starting to, the conversation is petering out, and you're like, this isn't going anywhere but a song. Like, this is the only thing that can happen. So Adam sings this super loud song to Gideon.
Well, it's also the same song that Millie sang to him on their wedding night. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't notice it because I was... What's the equivalent of your ears glossing, like eyes glossing over, your ears glossing over?
Yeah. It's the same song. Yep.
Yikes. Okay.
But then, my favorite part at the end of that, because Gideon's trying to explain, I'm in love with this girl, and even Adam's like, you've known her for 5 minutes. Adam, who knew his wife for 5 minutes before he got married, but, even so. And Millie, comes up and is watching them, and, she's feeling all this love for Adam because Adam's singing the song she sang to him, and, he must love her now, and blah, blah, blah. Then at the end, Adam looks at Gideon and said, well, if this doesn't work out, you'll find somebody else because one girl's pretty much the same as another.
What a class act this Adam is. I just love him. He's just such a great guy. They have their nice, this was a mom favorite as well, the Lonesome Polecat song.
Yeah, that's my favorite song.
It's the best. I'll say it's number 2 for me. I like the one that's coming, right later better, but it's basically they're all just pining over these women, and there is this, it's such a good song. And I was reading through trivia, and evidently it was one continuous take, the song. It was all, it might have been different cuts and stuff, but it was all of the same take from what I gather.
Which isn't surprising for musicals because that's how you do that, right? You have to get everything with the choreography and the music and all of that sort of stuff because you're usually doing this on a stage. And I don't know if you knew this, but this was not filmed in the mountains in Oregon. What? And it was filmed on a stage because the mountains in the backdrop don't look very real.
And what I'll let that one slide. I don't know what you mean by that. I thought it was all totally real.
Right.
So Benjamin, the second oldest, tells Millie that he intends to leave. Basically, he says he wants to not have to spend another winter there, but it's clear he's lovesick. And Adam can't understand why the brothers are all so hung up on the girls that they barely fucking know, as we mentioned. Adam stumbles into the barn and tries to get through to these guys about the irrelevance of consent in pursuing ladies by singing what is far and away the best song of the movie, Sobbin' Women. I have it on multiple playlists. I listen to this song regularly. I fucking love this song. Like, I think it's great, even though the message of the song is basically like, steal up some women, and just and get them that way. Like, you don't need anything else. You don't need, to run it by them really quick or anything like that. So
yeah, and as Brandon mentioned at the beginning, this was based on the Sabine women in Roman times, and that's part of the song is like he's talking about reading the book that Plutarch writes and about they go and capture these Roman women, so they're going to do the same thing with their
right. And
women.
So there's this thing that always happens in musicals, and I know this is probably obvious to say, but it's like Adam walks in and he starts singing a song to these seemingly unsuspecting guys, right? And he's telling them, through the lyrics, he's telling them what they need to consider doing. These guys who clearly do not know this song, all of a sudden, all 6 of them break out into full choreography and start doing backup vocals, and they don't even know the full cadence of the song. How are they supposed to execute this? But they do it beautifully, and I don't know how that works, but it's a pretty solid number. I'll just say that, like, despite some things.
Well, and there's a line in there that says, "When the menfolk went to fetch them, the women would not be fetched. It seems when the Romans catch them, their lady friends stay catched." And so you're trying to figure out how are they going to catch these women and not have them, their families or boyfriends or whatever, find them, all that sort of stuff.
Right. On that note, the 7 brothers all go to town, led by Adam, and they take the women they want by force.
Yeah, so they go through all the brothers, they, find their significant others. What always surprises me is, like, some of them are, like, leaving, visiting another family, and another's baking a pie, and another's sitting in their parlor with their parents, and another is going to bed. It's like, what fucking time of day is this?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, they all go throw blankets over the heads of the women and bring them back to the sled or sleigh or whatever, except Gideon, who is pretending to be a cat outside, which I think is one of the funniest things in this movie.
I mean, I love Gideon. Let me just say that. I think
Gideon's
great.
The best. And every time we meow at our cats, that's what I think of, because he meows at first to get somebody's attention, and then it's taking too long, and the boyfriend of Alice comes out around, and Benjamin luckily catches him before he hits Gideon with a shovel.
Mm-hmm.
And Benjamin says, "Hurry up," and Gideon starts meowing frantically, like meow, 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 meow. So
it's ridiculous. I mean, I do love it though. They scoop up these girls, and the girls are all mortified, and
I don't think mortified is the right word.
What's the word
I think they're mortified means more like embarrassed. So
then
more like,
I was thinking mortified, like more horrified, I guess, then would work.
Horrified would be a better horrified, or angry or scared, or
right. Yeah, and so
whatever.
They're really worked up, bottom line, and they're like, so the brothers are leaving, and they're fleeing town, and the men in the lives of these women are pursuing them, and would you believe that it's actually like it doesn't look super great visually as they're having this chase? Like, anytime they're on a carriage and you see, like in those old movies where it's like they clearly had a green screen, or I shouldn't even say green screen, just a screen that was projecting footage behind them to make it look like they were going somewhere. But anyway, so it's just like kind of choppy in my opinion from that standpoint, but it's like they get far enough ahead.
Does the job.
Yeah, right. It's reasonable. It's not bad. They cause an avalanche that somehow, I mean, like, I don't know much about avalanches, but like how far back were those guys? That
Yeah.
it didn't just kill them.
They hadn't gotten into the past yet, and the Ponape brothers are far enough
Right.
ahead that, it doesn't, so everything works out. But this is, they foreshadowed this early in the movie, because when Adam and Millie are driving up, she yells because she's so excited to be marrying this guy she just met, and he said, "Oh, that's Echo Pass. Don't raise your voice here in the winter. You'll cause an avalanche and get snowed in until spring."
Right. And
Well, that's what they do
Yeah.
to cut them off from the townsfolk until spring. So they at least have a few months together. Of course, the women are not super happy about being kidnapped against their will. Who knew?
women, right? Anyway.
So they get back to the house, and Millie says, "How could you do this?" And she's really pissed at Adam because he was the ringleader. She tells all the men that they have to sleep in the barn and the house is reserved for the women. Adam says, "Well, fuck this. I'm not staying here and being treated like that." And so he goes up to the hunting cabin. Gideon runs to tell Millie that he's leaving, and Gideon says, "You've got to stop him." And she's like, he's got to learn that he can't treat people like this. He leaves
so
for the winter.
He abandons them because he's pissed and doesn't see how there could be anything wrong with what he did at all.
Right, he did something wrong, so he's going away to pout because he got in trouble for doing something bad.
And so with the girls inside the house and the boys are doing their regular work outside of the house and all that stuff, there's some trouble being made by the girls. They're throwing snowballs at them. They're dumping water on them. They are...
Snowballs with
rocks in them. Yes, my bad. And what else did they do? Something else. I can't remember what. But they're basically just like being... It's not like they're out of line with what they're doing. It's just like it obviously pisses the guys off that they're doing this. And so all the girls band together and sing a single song, and it carries them all the way through winter. And then
It's the longest song ever.
It is. It goes because there's there are multiple locations in this song. Like they're all over the place, and it's like, holy shit. Once the song is over, spring hits and it's nice outside, and all of the respective couples are doing things together and singing another song.
Except that you miss one thing where soon after Adam leaves, and when they first start singing this song, Millie comes up to their bedroom and says she's going to have a baby in the spring.
Oh, right.
So that's also something that is happening in the background.
Right. And obviously, they have their fun in the spring before the pass melts, and they know that they're going to have trouble on their hands. And Gideon faints when he finds out the news about him being an uncle, or him going to be an uncle, or whatever. And I always...
When she has the baby, so it's...
that's right.
It's when she has the baby.
Right.
Yep.
And so after all that happens, she has the baby, Gideon decides he's going to head up to the cabin to try and convince Adam to come back after the news of the baby. But of course, Adam is furious and refuses to believe that Millie would have a girl. What are the odds? You know what I mean? What are the chances?
And also, he thinks it's an excuse to get him to come back that she's even had a baby. So not only does he really not believe she's had a baby, he can't believe if she did, it has to be a girl, of course.
Right. And it's is there no trust among these brothers? Would Gideon, if that let's say, based on what we know about Millie, she is not this sinister person spinning these bullshit lies about having children.
But she did yell at him about she yelled at Adam about going and kidnapping the girls. It's probably the first feedback that Adam's ever gotten in his life, so...
That's fair.
He probably took it poorly.
That's true. That's a good point. Adam, he had said that he would return to help defend the fort when the pass opened back up, and so it did. He gets back, and basically, there's just he goes in and he meets this baby, and he looks at it, and Millie is trying to figure out a name, okay? And this has always bugged me about this movie. The three names, she wanted to continue on the alphabet naming, and she throws out 3 H names, and she says Hannah or Heka or Hepzibah. Now, do you know, are Heka and Hepzibah biblical names? I've never heard them before in my life.
Yeah, I think Hepzibah for sure.
I just, Heike...
I trust Millie.
Right.
She would know.
That's true. She wouldn't lie about that. And so all of these men from the town, they're hammering this giant ring that I guess is a bell for them and letting everybody know the pass is open. They're all coming out to get the women back.
Well, the women don't want to be taken back at this point.
No, right. They have been... Stockholm Syndrome set in really heavily here. And it is just like, wow. You know, like they're really...
So when Adam comes back, the guys go to get all their weapons and the girls flee, try to hide so that they don't get taken back by their male family members. So when the townsfolk come, Adam tells them we're not gonna fight them. Like, if somebody gets hurt, it's gonna be one of their family members or friends. Right. Like, you can't just shoot somebody or whatever, because he's learned a lesson.
Yeah, because he's essentially, he says, as he looks at his daughter for the first time, he says he would essentially kill a guy if they had done to his daughter what he did to those, his brothers did to those women. I mean, so he's just like completely changed his tune and actually sees seemingly the error of his ways. As the townsmen arrive, there's not much in the way of fighting, as Michelle mentioned, and they hear the baby and they confront the girls without, Millie's not with them, but like they confront the 6 girls and say, whose baby is that? And like they all get put on the spot and they kind of exchange glances with each other and they all say, mine. And so this is their play to keep themselves at this place, even though...
To be able to marry now the Ponape brothers, because obviously that's the only way you can do anything, is if you are forced to, because you now have a baby with someone. Now, could have been non-consented child that they had as well. So this movie has a lot of assault and consent issues, but taking it at 1954 value, you just have to pick up on any of that.
But so basically the movie ends with this quote unquote shotgun wedding, a literal shotgun wedding, where
but it's not a shotgun
it's not
wedding
in the sense of the word.
Somebody is pregnant and is forced to get married because they're pregnant.
And I gotta say, like, that scene where the 6 brothers are getting married to the 6 brides, and it's like the bit they do where the preacher is talking and he says, like, if anyone should oppose or whatever he says, they do the thing where all the men holding the shotguns, like, take a single pace forward menacingly. I'm not. I don't love it. But yeah, that is how 7 Brides for 7 Brothers from 1954 ends. And Michelle, what's your praise for this movie? What things do you like best about it?
I like the majority of the music. Most of the performances are okay. You can see that there are better singers in some ways, better dancers in some ways, better actors in some ways. I think the main characters do fine. I mean, I think Gideon's obviously a favorite, as we've already mentioned. Yeah. It's kind of where I'm at.
So, I mean, for me, I agree. There are some really good songs, some standout songs that I really enjoy, and that's critical because, I mean, for me, a musical, if I didn't grow up with the musical, I probably am not going to like this musical. You know what I mean? If I'm watching it for the first time now, I like Grease, I like this, and I can't even think of other, maybe like The Sound of Music a little bit or something, but like for the most part, if it's not something I grew up with, I am not a fan of the genre at all. Mm-hmm. And obviously I love the ridiculous story. It is dated. It is, it's not something you can wrap your head around very easily. It's definitely entertaining at the very least. And, most of the character, I mean, there's no one that's like terribly unlikable. And obviously there are those few that we've talked about that are like, they're solid. They're favorites as far as the rest of the movie goes. What about criticism? What issues did you have?
I really hate Millie's hairdo. I think it looks like a helmet. Just some like weird inconsistencies that happen with these types of movies about like, where did they get all their clothes? There may be like cut scenes or something, but you can tell that toward the end of the spring when the girls are there that like they've made their clothes out of curtains and other dresses and blankets and stuff like that, because they're all like mishmash, whatever.
Yeah, that's what they said, is they literally made those out of like thrift store quilts that they found.
Yes,
So,
yes. Because they were trying to make it seem like, oh, they would need clothes and they'd have to get them somewhere. Of course, they had one outfit. That would have been all they would have had anyway.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I've already mentioned the, like, doing the dance before the barn raising, the barn falling down when it was almost completely intact. Some of those sorts of misses.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there are, like, I can't argue with our mom about the songs that suck, and, like, they're frequently Millie's, let's be honest. Like, other than Going Courtin', like, I don't really care for them. So I still, to this day, like, I always wanted to sit through them just to see what they were all about, because I never knew. But, like, you know, I mean, and I think I've hammered this point to death. This story is of its time in the sense of when the movie was made, and also the time period that it's set in. And it's like, I'm not saying that makes it right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just saying that that's what you got. You've got a 1954 musical.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean,
the first song that Millie does, the one that Mom always fast forwarded through, I started fast forwarding through, and Dan was like, well, maybe you should listen to it and see or whatever. I'm like, okay, we will, because I'd already listened to it. I knew I hated it, and so we listened to most of it, and at the end he kind of looked at me like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like that, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's...
So there's that. The other one she sings in the bedroom is not as bad, I think, because Adam ends up singing it later. It's okay, like, and it's shorter.
Yeah, and it does. I think that first one, the jarring nature of her delivery of that song is what gets me, like what makes it that much worse for me. So the other ones, it doesn't seem quite as aggressive, the way she just breaks out into song. So I got I already talked about one of my trivia items, which is that the wood chopping scene was a continuous take and all that fun stuff. And the other thing I found interesting was that MGM had so little faith in this film's success that they reallocated budget and resources to other films like Rosemarie and Brigadoon that were subsequently far less successful than this movie. They didn't expect anything here, and they had a hit on their hands. So I don't know what Rosemarie is, but Brigadoon I obviously know because of you.
Yep, gonna have that song in my head the rest of the day now.
There you go. All right, so on to info and ratings. We have a runtime of 102 minutes. This movie was approved by the Motion Picture Association of America, and this was before the advent of the letter rating system. Budget, $2.5 million, and I don't know if that is adjusted for inflation or not. It didn't say on either IMDb or Wikipedia. Worldwide gross, $9.4 million. IMDb rating, 7.3. Letterboxd rating, 3.4. Rotten Tomato critic score, 89%. Rotten Tomato audience score, 87%. Personal rating, I'm going, I don't know if this is too mean or too, nice, but I'm going 3.5 out of 5 stars on this one. I feel like it's a little low, but I'm also trying to grade it objectively based on the fact that I know if I had never seen this movie in my life and I tried to watch it today, I wouldn't give it anywhere near that good of a rating. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do 4 out of 5. When it finished last night when we were watching it, I told Dan, 5 out of 5, wonderful movie, blah, blah, blah. But just fucking around. But yeah, I would say 4 out of 5. It's one I can go back to. I like the songs. I like the story is just weird. So it's enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely agreeable. Yeah. So, I mean, that's all I got. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about Seven Brides for Seven Brothers while you have this platform?
And not at this time.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on. Of course, I apologize for not putting you on the Twister
Thank
episode.
You for having me.
I didn't realize.
I know. How dare you?
I don't know what I was thinking. So, all right. Well, that is it for today. Have a good rest of your day. Bye now.
and shoot no breeze with a bunch of trees.